Bees. An insect species that have been around for 100 million years, with evidence suggesting they first appeared all the way back in the mid-Cretaceous period. Bees for the last 100 million years have been responsible for driving evolution in flowers, building the ecosystems we have today, and most importantly, being responsible for pollinating 75% of all the food crops we consume today. After reading the Beekeepers Bible by Richard Jones and Sharon Sweeney-Lynch, we started to learn more about the amazing history of bees and beekeeping. So we decided to get out of the city and visit a relative in the country, who, as he states, is a bee haver, not a beekeeper, as he looks after bees for a hobby, not just for gathering honey, but to also help with the local bee population. This was the perfect opportunity for our first hands-on beekeeping experience, and to help them out with this year's honey harvest, which, from a quick glance, might appear quick and straightforward, but actually takes a lot of steps and hard work. Due to being new beekeepers, we planned our visit for the summer harvest as a fun introduction to beekeeping, so as not to be overwhelmed with the more important hive checks during the swarm season, as we only knew the basics of beekeeping from reading beekeeping books and watching other beekeepers on YouTube. So, with no prior hands-on experience, we were first instructed to get the smoker ready. Smoke is a tool commonly used by beekeepers as a way to calm the bees when opening their hive. This is because when smoke enters the hive, the bees instinctively believe that the hive is on fire, and to save as much of their honey as possible, they will eat all the honey they can to save it from burning. But through this action, the bees consume so much honey that they fill their little bee bellies and become calmer and more docile. After smoking the entrance to the hive, we can open the top of the beehive. With the top of the hive off, we were instructed to use the smoker, as this helps drive the bees down into the hive, making it easier to remove the honey frames and potentially harming less bees in the process. But the bees can be stubborn, and to remove the leftover bees still hanging on the frames, we can use a bee brush to brush them away, or a little electric blower on low speed. But don't worry, this doesn't hurt the bees when it's done correctly and gently. What we are looking for here is frames that have been fully capped over. This means the bees have filled the cells with honey, and by flapping their little wings have removed all the excess water in the honey, so it can be preserved indefinitely. And once the bees are happy with the moisture level, they will place a wax capping on top so that no more moisture can get into the honey. After swapping out the full honey frames with some empty ones, we can close up the beehive and start the sticky task of extracting the honey from the frames. Bees usually produce about 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in their lifetime, which isn't much, but when an average beehive contains around 50,000 bees, an average hive can produce about 30 kilos of honey in a good honey season, with there being 2 a year. To get the honey out of the comb, we must first remove the wax capping. This can be done with a capping removal tool or just a serrated knife. By keeping the wax capping, it can be later turned into many things such as beeswax candles, beauty products, wax cloth, or alternatively it can be left out near the beehive where the bees will collect it and reuse it. Once the capping is removed, we need to put the frames into a honey extractor, which by spinning really fast throws the honey out of the frame without destroying the wax comb, so the frames can be used again. Think of it as a slingshot, where the honey flies out of the comb onto the extractor walls and then it all falls to the bottom of the extractor. But before we can place the honey into the jars, it needs to be filtered. Filtering the honey helps remove unwanted things out of the honey, like bits of missed wax capping and other bee debris from the extraction process. It also helps improve the appearance of the honey and gives it a much better texture, free of unwanted gritty particles. For our first ever honey harvest, we managed to get about 9 kilos worth of honey between 2 hives, which apparently was good as this year's honey season wasn't that great, due to the very hot dry summer in our area, which also impacted some of our local plants. Now, what does someone do with so much honey? It's mainly used in cooking, but it can be used in craft projects, and it was even used as wound care during the medieval periods to help stop infections. To finish off our first time beekeeping, we really wanted to make something out of the honey we helped harvest. The Beekeepers Bible has a whole chapter filled with recipes and craft projects that all use honey. With so many options to choose from, we decided to make the honey glazed rack of lamb. First, start by grabbing a few red onions, peeling them before cutting them into thin slices. Add them to an oil pan on medium heat, cooking until soft, not brown, adding salt and pepper to taste. Place the cooked onions into a roasting pan, adding the rack of lamb with the fatty side facing up. Score the fat with a knife. In a small saucepan, add some of your freshly farmed honey with some thyme and rosemary, gently heating on low for a few minutes so it doesn't burn. Brush the hot honey onto the lamb before adding a hefty pinch of salt. Place into a preheated oven at 200 degrees Celsius, 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes. Halfway through, add a quarter cup of vegetable stock to the lamb. Once cooked, remove from the oven and allow to rest before serving. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little video of our first time beekeeping, as much as we enjoyed and learnt from this experience. We love honey and often use it in our tea and cooking, so it was great to be able to harvest our own honey ourselves. As we have been watching beekeeping videos for years and have been continuously learning about the skill of beekeeping and the life of bees, it takes a lot of effort and hard work looking after bees and harvesting honey, so make sure to buy your honey locally to support your local beekeepers. It was such an enjoyable adventure that we have definitely made up our minds on getting our own bees here in the big city. So let us know if you like this video, and if you'd be interested in learning some more about the skills of beekeeping with two amateur bee enthusiasts, along with seeing the challenges that might come from beekeeping in the city. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to let us know what other book-inspired videos you want to see next. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.